If it's true that your villains will define you, then what kind of villains must Earth's mightiest heroes have? Welcome to another video in my Avengers Week celebration, and in my last top 10, we talked about the top 10 Avengers who need to be in the next movie. So now it's time for the villains to shine. The Avengers have some great villains, and I love that thanks to the movies, people are finally starting to learn about them. So let's keep digging into their rich collection. Here's my top 10 greatest Avengers villains. Number 10, Taskmaster. Taskmaster isn't the strongest villain on this list, and he hasn't carried out any master plans. Heck, for the first decade or two of his appearances, he was known as the guy who ran for the hills the moment the Avengers showed up. But he certainly is one of the most fun villains on this list. You see, Taskmaster was born with a very rare ability known as photographic reflexes, meaning that whatever he sees someone else do, he can then mimic perfectly. So he can web sling like Spider-Man, shoot an arrow like Hawkeye, throw a shield like Captain America, fight like Iron Fist. And what did he decide to do with these amazing powers? Get paid! Cash money, y'all! Yes, Taskmaster is a mercenary who cares about one thing and one thing only: money. And because of that, it's made him one of the most laid-back, carefree, does not give a fudge villains in the Marvel Universe, which makes him a joy to read. But that's not the only thing that gets him on this list. Have you ever wondered, man, where do these villains get all these evil henchmen? Taskmaster, that's where. As I said, Taskmaster decided to use his powers for cash, and that included opening up schools for turning petty street thugs into the henchmen of tomorrow. So just remember, for only 10 easy payments of $99.99, you can learn how to fight just like Captain America. So call 555-555-TASK today. Message and data rates may apply. Number 9, Count Nefaria. Continuing the long line of jerks with the title of Count, Count Nefaria began his villainous career as a mob boss, where he organized several supervillains against the Avengers and other heroes. However, his real threat came when he supercharged himself with ionic powers, making him strong enough to stand up to Thor, and also allowed him to control fellow Avenger Wonder Man, making him not just a mighty force, but also a character who could bring the Avengers down from the inside. Plus, look at that facial hair. That's evil right there. Number 8, the Grim Reaper. Speaking of characters who are able to take advantage of Wonder Man, his brother the Grim Reaper comes in at this spot not just because of his personal connection to the team, but also because there are few Avenger villains who are more sadistic and sinister than him. He's a superpowered zombie who can absorb the life force of others, and has even brought back dead Avengers to fight for him as his own Legion of the Undead. Now that's a level of disrespect that's hard to top. Number 7, the Skrulls. The Skrulls have been a thorn in the side of many heroes of the Marvel Universe. Invading aliens tend to be so, but they've had several significant encounters with the Avengers that put them at this spot. Most notably being the Kree-Skrull War that the Avengers were dragged into to prevent the planet from being ripped apart. And of course we can't ignore the Secret Invasion where the Skrulls infiltrated the ranks of the Avengers, disguising themselves as many of the most prominent members of the team, and unleashed an invasion wave that ended up killing their founding member, the Wasp. Except that it didn't. It's confusing. Let's move on. Number 6, Korvac. Korvac is one of the most frightening concepts for a villain. He's a normal man with normal flaws and can be corrupted and manipulated as much as anyone, but he is given the powers of a god. When he takes on nearly unlimited power, he decides to become a benevolent god. But his idea of benevolence is, well, killing everyone. Korvac ended up killing several members of the Avengers and looked nearly unstoppable, and it was only the rejection of the love of his life that was able to stop him, as it was able to make him accept defeat and lead to his death. Now, before he died, he did bring the Avengers he killed back to life, which these days would get you an eye roll, but this was decades ago. Back then, if it looked like you killed someone, everyone thought they were gone for good. Number 5, the Masters of Evil. If the Avengers are Earth's mightiest heroes, then the Masters of Evil are Earth's mightiest villains. A group of their most sinister villains coming together to form a threat larger than any of them could on their own. And just as the Avengers have changed over the years, the Masters have always changed to serve as a mirror image to them. But perhaps they'll be known most for the Under Siege storyline, where they invaded the Avengers mansion, destroying it, beating their butler Jarvis half to death, and just to add insult to injury, destroyed the only items Captain America had to remind him of the time he came from. Number 4, Loki. Loki has been a threat to the Avengers for their entire existence, but the thing that he will always be known for is that he was the villain that brought them together in the first place. From there, he's continued to plot against the Avengers, such as the time he manipulated the greatest villains on Earth during the Acts of Vengeance storyline so they'd come together to destroy his foes, or the time he convinced Norman Osborn into invading and destroying Asgard. Loki might not get his own hands dirty often, but few villains have done more damage to the team, even if it was from behind the scenes. Number 3. Thanos. The only reason Thanos isn't higher on this list is because he's not just a threat to the Avengers, but to every living creature in the universe. He's as strong as Thor, as brilliant as Tony Stark, and is a walking servant of death itself. He's waged war on the Earth, destroyed entire planets as a member of the Cabal, and of course, let's not forget when he gathered the Infinity Stones together to form the Infinity Gauntlet, in which he gained so much power, he wiped out half the population of the universe just by snapping his fingers. Few villains have aimed as high as Thanos, and even fewer have succeeded as many times as he has. Number 2, Kang. Kang the Conqueror is the master of time, and how the heck do you fight someone who can beat any win? How can you possibly prepare for someone who has unlimited time to plan and infinite resources at his disposal? And that's what makes Kang such a threat. You could beat him, utterly foil every one of his plans, and then he'd just go back to the future where he rules or go to his home outside of time and spend decades coming up with the perfect plan and then come right back to face you again at your weakest. When you have time on your side, every defeat is only temporary. And at number 1, Ultron. Not only has Ultron destroyed an entire nation, racking up a higher body count than most villains, and not only is he a creation of one of the founding members of the Avengers, meaning he has a personal connection within the team, meaning that every atrocity he carries out will forever be a weight put on the backs of these members. But the thing that makes Ultron the number 1 Avengers villain, even more than his hatred, even more than his crimes, the thing that puts him at the number 1 spot is that he'll always be back. One day Thanos will fall, Kang will fade away, but Ultron will always return. Ultron always has copies of himself made and just waiting to return. The Avengers have destroyed every version of him on Earth, and he's shown up in space. That's how far Ultron is prepared. So remember, folks, to back up your hard drives. It's a good habit to get into. Not so much with your supervillains. But just to prove my point, even though Kang is the master of time, whenever the Avengers go into the future, Kang isn't the one in charge. It's always Ultron who finally defeats them. There are futures where Ultron has defeated the Earth, has conquered Kang, and has destroyed the gods and made himself king of Asgard. Ultron is the HAL 9000 and Skynet all wrapped up into one indestructible adamantium case, and if this version of Ultron won't stop you, then it's only a matter of time till he's upgraded to a version that will. So there you have it, folks. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you like it, then please hit that subscribe, but also check out some of my other top 10s. As I mentioned, I just made one earlier this week about the top 10 Avengers who we need to see in the movies, so you can check it out right there, but also check out my other channel of Geekery 101, where I give easy introductions to the world of geek culture. And later this week, I've got a video coming up on that channel that's all about Ultron, so stay tuned for that, and thanks for watching, everyone.